will memorize those theories. Okay, from Monday we will start doing the sums. So tomorrow we'll finish up the fourth theory. Today we are doing third theory. Tomorrow we'll do the fourth theory. After that we will mark them up properly from on Saturday and Sunday. And from Monday we will start doing the sums. So when you are marking them up, you should mark the formula also, that how this value of the firm is calculated. In mainly value of the firm you will have to calculate. But for calculating the value of the firm, you'll have to go through lot many calculations. Okay. So just to brief you, in NI approach, that is net income approach, the value of the firm was just the summation of the value of the equity and the total amount of the debt or the value of the debt. But in net operating income approach, how did we find out the value of the firm? We deducted the value of the equity from the value of the debt. That is how we found out the total we deduct from the value of the firm, we deducted the value of the debt, and then we came across the value of the equity. And value of the firm, how did we calculate? We divided the EBIT by the overall cost of capital. Okay, in NI approach, we just add the value of the equity and value of debt and we sum up them to find out the value of the firm. But in NOI approach, we deduct the EBIT by overall cost of capital and then we calculate the value of the firm. Alright, and from there, from the value of the firm, we come to the value of the equity by deducting value of debt from the total value of the firm. Okay, that was the difference between NI and NOI approach. It may come in your examination also. They state the differences between net income approach and net operating income approach. Now the third theory, the traditional theory. This is called traditional theory of capital structure. This is our today's discussion. It is accepted by all that the judicious use of debt will increase the value of the firm. Why it happens? If you use more debt, the value of the firm increases. Why? Because the cost of debt is less than the cost of equity. Okay. So since the cost is less, so if you use more debt, it will add up to the value of the firm and thus the overall cost of capital will be reduced. So the optimum capital structure is the point at which the value of the firm is the highest and the cost of capital is at its lowest point, right? So how will you determine the optimal capital structure? You will say that this is the point of the optimal capital structure because at this point the value of the firm is the highest and the cost of capital is the lowest. Practically, this approach encompasses all the ground between the net income approach and the net operating income approach. That is, it may be called intermediate approach. So this will be something, this traditional theory will be something which will lie between net income and net operating income approach. Let us see how. The traditional approach explains that up to a certain point, debt equity mix will cause the market value of the firm to rise and the cost of capital to decline. So the tradition, it is not like a net income approach which says more debt means more value. It is also not like net operating income approach, but it says that debt and equity mix will cause what? Will cause the market value of the firm to rise and the cost of capital to decline, which is very good, right? Which is very good. It will cause the market value of the firm to rise and the cost of capital to decline. But after attaining the optimum level, that means it will not happen that the market value of the firm will go on increasing and the cost of capital will go on decreasing. But the traditional approach says that after attaining the optimum level, any additional debt will cause to decrease the market value and to increase the cost of capital. It is a very valid theory. You see, in the previous theory, it was said that if you increase the cost debt inclusion in your capital structure to the fullest, all amount of capital by debt, then your value will be maximum. It was said. But practically it is not so. It can't happen like that, because if you go on increasing more and more amount of debt in the capital structure, the investors are going to doubt your viability. They're going to doubt your presence. They're going to say this company is in high risk because they have a lot of debt. So they have a compulsion to pay the interest. What will they pay to us as dividend? So that thinking will come amongst the investors. So that is not a practical approach to say that if you use more debt, then the value of the firm will be highest. But this traditional approach is a very practical one. Practically it says that yes, if you go on increasing an additional amount of debt in the capital structure, the value of the firm will increase and the cost of capital will decrease, but only up to a certain level. If after reaching that level, if you try to increase more debt, then that will not bring an increase in the value of the firm. Rather, that will cause a decrease in the value of the fund and the cost of capital will increase. So the opposite will happen. So it is better to include debt till that optimum level only. After reaching that optimum level, you should stop adding any amount of debt. So in other words, if you put it in other words, after attaining the optimum level, any additional debt taken will offset the use of cheaper debt capital, since the average cost of capital will increase along with a corresponding increase in the average cost of debt capital. That is a very valid statement, because after reaching that optimum level, if you add more debt, that will offset the advantage of having debt at a cheaper rate. Cost of debt is low, right? So that advantage will be offset, that will be cancelled by the risk that will be perceived. Okay, since the average cost of capital will increase along. Now, since the use of cheaper debt will be offset by the additional debt, that is why the average overall cost of capital will start to increase along with the corresponding increase in the average cost of debt capital. Since the cost of debt will start to increase, the average cost of capital will also increase, and thus that increase, that higher risk perception will make, will cancel the advantage of using the cheaper debt capital in the capital structure. Okay, so you see the diagram. Okay, first we will do the assumptions, then we will look at the diagram. Now there are some assumptions again. This will fill up your theory portion entirely. Okay, all the proposition or assumption you will have to write for all the theories that we are doing at the moment. Okay, so for traditional approach, these three are the assumptions. The first assumption is the cost of debt capital, that is KD, let us notify it by KD, remains constant more or less after up to a certain level, and thereafter it increases. Okay, you will not write that debt of capital keeps on decreasing, or it is a constant, which was so in the previous theory. See, I'll show you the diagram. Wait for once. Yes, see, in this NOI approach, KD is a constant value. See, KD is a constant value and overall cost of capital is also a constant value. But this cannot happen in practical. So the traditional approach is a modification of those theories. See, the cost of debt capital, that is KD, remains constant more or less. It will not be exactly constant, but it will fluctuate very less. So it will be almost constant, but not exactly constant. But that also will happen to a certain level, and after that it will increase. Similarly, let us see what will happen to cost of equity capital. The cost of equity capital, that is KE, remains constant more or less, or rises gradually up to a certain level and thereafter increases rapidly. Okay. Also, in the case of cost of equity, it will remain more or less constant, or it will increase gradually, but not much, but up to a certain level only. After that, it will start to increase rapidly. Okay. And the third assumption says the average cost of capital, that is KW. KW is what? Weighted average cost of capital, overall cost of capital, whatever you mention. Okay. The average cost of capital, that is KW, decreases up to a certain level, remains unchanged more or less, and thereafter rises after attaining a certain level. So this movement of KW will be similar to the movement of KD. So it will first decrease up to a certain level. No, it will be a little bit different also, because KD may be constant also, but average cost of capital will decrease because cost of equity is decreasing, right? So average cost of capital will decrease up to a certain level, or will remain unchanged more or less. And after reaching the level, it will start to increase. This diagram looks like this. See, in traditional approach can graphically be represented under taking the data from the previous illustration. This is a data taken from the NOI approach example and then has been plotted. So see, there is no straight line. There is no parallel line to the horizontal axis. Rather, all the costs are more, see, KD is more or less constant. It is almost a straight line, but not a straight line. So it will decrease, decrease, decrease. It will move almost constant and reach a certain level. This is that certain level. Okay, point A is the certain level. So till that point, it will more or less be constant. After that, it will start to increase. Similarly with KE, that is cost of equity, it will increase a little bit at a very low rate, but after reaching this point, it has started to increase rapidly. It is increasing quite high. Similarly with overall cost of capital, it is decreasing because it is a combination of KE and KD. So it is decreasing, and after reaching this point, it has started to increase. It is found from the above that the average cost curve. It is found from the above that the average cost curve is U-shaped. Average cost curve means KW. Okay, it is U-shaped. That is, at this stage, the cost of capital would be minimum, which is expressed by the letter A in the graph. So this is the point where the cost of capital would be minimum. If we draw a perpendicular to the x-axis from this point, the same will indicate the optimal capital structure for the firm. So this is the degree of leverage, so, right? This is the degree of leverage. Suppose this point is say 40%. Suppose this perpendicular is showing 40% on the x-axis. Suppose you had taken 10%, 20%, 25%, 30%, 35%, 40% like that. And when you drew the perpendicular from this optimum point, that is A, it is showing 40%. So what will it indicate? It will indicate that 40% debt has been used in the overall capital structure. 40% debt and 60% equity, like that. Okay. Thus, the traditional position implies that the cost of capital is not independent of the capital structure of the firm, and that there is an optimal capital structure. There is no maximum point where you will have the maximum value of the firm and the minimum cost of capital, but there will be an optimal point where the capital structure will be optimal. At that optimal structure, the marginal real cost of debt is the same as the marginal real cost of equity in equilibrium. What is this line means? Here, what will happen? The marginal cost of debt, implicit and explicit, both. At this optimal structure, the marginal real cost of debt will be exactly same as the marginal real cost of equity in equilibrium. The marginal cost will be same. Marginal cost means what? Increase in the cost from by including 1% of extra leverage. That is 1% extra unit of debt. If you include, then that becomes the marginal cost of debt. Similarly, marginal cost of equity. Okay. Then for degree of leverage, before that point, the marginal real cost of debt is less than that of equity, and beyond that point, the marginal real cost of debt is more than the equity. Okay, so this is another valid point. Till this point A, the real cost of debt will be lower than the real cost of equity. But beyond this point, the real cost of debt will be more than the real cost of equity. Marginal real cost of equity. Okay. So you go through this theory properly. If you have any doubt, please ask. And tomorrow we'll do the next theory. Okay. Variations is also there. Variations is required. Variations will not be required. You do till this much only. You do till this.
Ma'am, tomorrow is also class.
Yes. Why tomorrow is something?
Ma'am, Chhat Puja.
Chhat Puja. Okay. Okay. Let's see. If no class, then management will inform.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. You will get the information in your group if no class. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
All right. So that's it for today then. We will do the last theory tomorrow. So you should go through the theories properly. You can write in your copy also. But the Saturday, Sundays weekend assignment will be to write the theories and understand them so well, mug up those theory, so that from Monday when we start doing the sums, you don't create any confusion in your mind. Okay. So you should go through all the theories properly. Now respond please. Abhijit.
Present, ma'am.
Oh, Abhijit is doing puja tomorrow. No, Abhijit send me Thekuas, okay?
Yes.
Abhishna.
Present, ma'am.
Anurag. Aryan. Ashish.
Yes, ma'am.
Ashmita. Bibechna.
Present, ma'am.
Debrupa. Harshita.
Present, ma'am.
Ishika Chaudhary. Ishika Agarwal. Kajal.
Present, ma'am.
Kasak.
Present, ma'am.
Khushi.
Present, ma'am.
Prizan.
Present, ma'am.
There are few students who attends the class regularly, 100% attendance. I very appreciate you. You're doing so well. There are few students who attends the class every day, 100% attendance is there. Very good. Mahima, Mamta,
Yes, ma'am.
Muskan Prasad,
Yes, ma'am.
Muskan Gupta,
Yes, ma'am.
Namrata, Nidhi,
Present, ma'am.
Nitesh,
Ma'am, Namrata present.
Yes, Namrata, I know you are present. Pawan, Prashil, Pratiksha Chetri, Pratiksha Giri, Priyanka,
Present, ma'am.
Pooja, Rahul, Rajat, Ramkrishna, Rohit Bansal, Rohit Pandey, Sagar, Salina, Shalini,
Present,
Shruti,
ma'am.
Siddhant, Saurabh,
Present, ma'am.
Sobhit, Supriya, Suraj, Swayam, Tanya, Vinit. All right then. See you tomorrow morning again. Bye bye. Have a nice day.